What's going on, guys? Fost here, and I am back with another video. In today's video, I'll be doing an in-depth Nunu Jungle guide. Nunu won the poll, as you can see right now. So here we are doing the guide. If you guys want to vote for the next champion for the next poll, make sure to do so. Hit the notification bell, look out for the community tab, and then the poll goes live. Vote fast, because after 24 hours, the poll will close, and whoever has the most votes at that stage will be the next guide. So with that being said, if you guys want to catch me streaming live on Twitch as well, there is a link in the description. Go and make sure to hit me there, hit it with follow there, and come hang out whenever you have time or whenever, yeah. Anyway, with all that being said, let's get right into the guide. So for Nunu, the runes, there are two main options with a choice that's possible. So you have the Phase Rush or the Aftershock, and Predator is an option, but I would say that Phase Rush has a better role for a similar type of deal. Now, Nunu has already has a lot of gank pressure, so needing the extra move speed for boost from Predator isn't really necessary. If you can just prep your snowball and charge with your snowball into a lane, it's already basically going to be a built-in Predator, so that's why I wouldn't really advise going Predator. It's still an okay choice, but compared to Phase Rush or Aftershock, it's really not there. Now, the best rune as of right now is Phase Rush. However, if you struggle using Phase Rush, or maybe struggle like positioning yourself to keep yourself alive, then Aftershock is a little bit better, because you will be able to run in with a snowball, get all the extra resistances from Aftershock, and that's going to make sure that you live a lot easier. The main difference for these runes is that if you want to go Phase Rush, you can go Red Smite on Nunu, which makes 1v1ing a little bit easier. If, however, you're going for Aftershock, you need to go Blue Smite to still be able to get those E's off, like the snare from your E off in those situations. So an Aftershock page would look like Aftershock, and then you can go for either Font of Life or Demolish. If you want to look for turret pressure early game with like Rift Herald control, you can go Demolish. Font of Life is just going to be an overall great pickup, so that's completely that. Now, Bone Plating is going to be necessary against early game champions. If they invade you like Graves, for example, then Bone Plating will help a lot. In any other situation, you can go Conditioning, and then right here, you can go for the Unflinching if you do need the extra resist or like the extra tenacity. If that's not the case, you can go Overgrowth to be a lot more tanky. Revitalize also works. However, I find that Overgrowth actually helps you a little bit more because of the extra maximum HP gain, which on Nunu amounts to quite a lot of health. You already have a lot of built-in healing already, and if you go for like a Spirit Visage combination with your Q, you're still gonna have plenty extra healing. So Revitalize kind of takes a like a back burner compared to the Overgrowth, since this does make you a lot more tanky. So if you're going for a setup like this, that's completely fine. The secondary runes could be the Tenacity from this if you do need it. You can then skip Unflinching potentially, unless they have a lot of CC. Then you can go Unflinching with the Tenacity here, and then go Ninja Da by Still to be more tanky in that situation. And that works. Now for this other option, you have the Cheap Shot with Relentless Hunter to still get the move speed that like to help you get into a lane faster. If you go Phase Rush, you will have the setup like this. You can go Phase Rush, Nimbus, Celerity for all the extra move speed through River and everything with Water Walking and your W. So this is going to give you all the move speed, and however, if you're going Aftershock, then basically Relentless will give you all the move speed from one single rune. So the option, of course, you can still go secondary on the Sorcery Tree as well, and then pick up Celerity and Water Walking, or select Celerity and Nimbus Cloak. That would work fine as well. So like Phase Rush would be the main rune I would recommend right now. It allows you to just go in with your W, get a position, like just hit your W on any type of lane, any type of teamfight engage, and then with your E procs, you'll be able to get a Phase Rush off, and then you will get the E snare off on the enemy a lot easier. Then when you get that snare, you can prep like Stone Plate and then your ultimate, and then that's how you can engage a teamfight quite easily as Nunu. So Phase Rush basically allows this to happen. It still happens with Aftershock, but you'll have a lot more movement speed issues. So a standard Phase Rush page would look something like this. You can go Phase Rush with all the move speed here. Then you won't really need the extra movement speed from Relentless. You can still go for it if you want, but in a lot of situations, just getting the Tenacity with the Triumph will be a lot better. Now you can also, if they don't really have CC, go for the Alacrity for some extra clear speed, attack speed. That's also fine. But Triumph is just going to be overall great as a tank, because you can go in, frontline very easily, and then as soon as they start dying, you will start getting a lot of HP back. 12% missing HP from a tank is a lot of health, which makes you a lot more tanky. Now with all those, that's basically it for those runes. These runes right here, you want to get the attack speed to help you in your early initial jungle clear, so you can get more auto attacks off and just clear a little bit faster. Go for the adaptive force if you want to. However, if the enemy team is like full MR, you can go double MR or double armor. You don't necessarily need the adaptive force from this, as it doesn't offer you a whole lot, but it does offer you a little bit of extra clear speed or a little bit of extra just fight potential. It's a tiny amount of extra damage, but into full armor or the full AD comps or full AP comps or heavy AP comps, then just getting more resistances or doubling up on like resistances is very, very valuable as well. So yeah, that's basically it for the runes. If you guys have any questions on these runes, make sure to put those in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer those questions for you. And with that being said, let's get right into the item build now. Alright, so for the item build, we have the Hunter's Talisman start with a refillable potion. This is a very basic start. The Hunter's Talisman basically allows you to clear your AoE camps. So you can start red buff, for example, and then use your W buff, your W to curve into the raptors. This is gonna proc your Hunter's Talisman, allowing you to basically burn that camp down really quickly. And it's just overall gonna give you health sustain, mana sustain, and it's definitely the one you want to get. The other one doesn't necessarily help you a whole lot. It does make your 3 camp clear a little bit faster if you do want to go for that. But in general, that's just like you just want to like go for a just a full clear, not going for your Krugs, and then this will allow you to do that the most easy way. Now on your initial back, you want to make sure, or at least try to look to get your Bami Cinder. This is gonna be your core first back. If you can get it, always pick it up, because this is gonna allow you to clear your jungle effectively and efficiently. So this will allow you to basically clear Krugs and clear Raptors really, really quickly, and that's what you want to look for. That's also the reason you don't really want to do your Krugs early unless the game is really, really stalematey and there's not much you can do otherwise. Then you can still go for it, but in other situations you just want to wait with your Krugs until you have your Bami Cinder, because otherwise it just takes way too long to clear one camp, and that's just not very time efficient. But with Bami Cinder, the AoE camps die really quickly, and then also curving your W into a camp will proc the effect from this, which makes the camp die even faster. So this is definitely something you want to rush. Now the smite variants, so red or blue smite, depends on what rune you took. If you have face rush, you always want to go red smite. If you don't have face rush, you want to go for the blue smite to make sure that you still get your E snare off. That's basically all the difference. Now one other thing you can do if you're getting a nice early game or just having a lot of kills early on and you don't really have the like the gold, let's say, to go for Bami Cinder or complete a red smite right after that or something like that, you can also opt to go for a Dark Seal, which is a very, very solid choice on Nunu. If you're doing well and snowballing with this, your AP values and your AP scaling is very, very good. So with this, you can also, of course, if you have 10 stacks on the Magi's, you're going to get the extra move speed from that as well, making your roam ability a lot better. So if you are doing well, picking up like an early Dark Seal into snowballing with this Dark Seal is very effective, actually. Simply for the high AP values that he does have, and then also the 10% extra move speed once you do get 10 stacks on the Magi's. So that's better roam potential and then also bigger damage potential. So this will help you snowball a lot harder. If you're getting an early lead, this would be an item you would look to pick up. Now again, rush for the Cinderhawk, and then depending on if you did well or not, you can go for a Magi's right after. You can also just pick up some normal boots in between, but usually if you're doing well and you did get like, let's say 10 stacks on your Dark Seal, picking up a Magi's will give you more than enough movement speed to like skip your boots for a little bit. That's not going to be that big of a deal, and this will then help you snowball a lot harder. So this is basically just a snowball item. If you're not doing too great or not getting a massive lead in the early game, then picking up a Magi's really isn't what you're looking for. You can still pick up a Dark Seal if you think that you might still pick up the pick up in tempo, let's say, for the later stages. So you can go for like the Bami Cinder, and then on this case back maybe get normal boots with a Dark Seal could be an option. So, and then if you're then doing well on the next back, you can still go for the Magi's with maybe a boots upgrade on form of Ninja Tabai or Mercs. So something like this will make you very, very strong, and it will help you snowball a game extremely easily. So with just that, this is just a snowball option. Boots options for Nunu is basically always Ninja Tabai or Mercs. It just depends on the enemy team. If they have a lot of CC, get Mercs. If not, get Ninja Tabai. And if you did pick up Tenacity in runes, you can be a little bit more lenient when getting Ninja Tabai, because Ninja Tabai does make you more tanky than Mercs would. So yeah, now for the main items on Nunu, you can go two ways. Now if you're snowballing and doing really well, again, Magi's is an option, and then going from Magi's into maybe a where is it? Proto Belt. It's a very good choice, because then Magi's with Proto Belt, this will basically give you a lot of damage. Proto Belt will also do a lot of damage gives you positional advantage, because 10% move speed from this combined with the active from this is going to easily allow you to land E's, land ultimates and everything like that. So that's a very good snowball combination, and this will help you win games really fast if you do get a lead yourself. If you don't get the lead yourself and more of the gold's going towards your teammates, or just getting killed or having a bad game or anything like that, you just want to avoid going for the AP variants. Also, going in Protobelt in those situations isn't really worth it. If you're doing somewhat decent, then Protobelt's still a good item. Like, you don't have to do great to just pick up Protobelt, but then you just don't want to go for like a Magi's. So you can go for like, in a decent game where you're doing okay, then you can go for an item setup like this and still get the Protobelt for that little bit of extra pressure. But if you're just doing poorly, then the Protobelt is a skip item. You don't want to get it because it's not going to make you tanky enough. It's not going to provide anything for your team, and you're just basically going to be dead weight at that point. If you're falling behind, the main thing you want to do is make sure you can look for the engages. So what helps with that will be Deadman's Plate. This is a very, very solid first item to pick up if you're not doing as great, or if you just want to basically be playing backup a little bit more for certain carries on your team. You can go for Deadman's Plate. This is going to give roam potential, it's going to give good engage potential for you as well and make you a lot more tanky. So overall, this item is very valuable on Nunu. And yeah, you would skip this item if you're not doing too great. You can still go for the Deadman's Plate right after a Protobelt. So if you're doing good to decent, or decent to good, I guess, then you can go with Protobelt into a Deadman's Plate as an armor item, and then for a Magic Resist item, you have the option of going for like a Spirit Visage to make you tanky after this. Another Magic Resist item would come in the form of a Stone Plate as well. Stone Plate's very useful on Nunu because you can use the active from this basically to get a full ult charge off. So if they use their hard CC and everything like that, so they can't cancel your ultimate that way, you could just run in, pop Stone Plate, wait a little bit, just a little bit, because Stone Plate lasts a little bit longer than your ultimate does. I believe ultimate is 3-second charge up, and then Stone Plate's 4 seconds. So what you can do is just pop Stone Plate, wait just a second, get your position for your E down properly, and then start ulting. People, if they start hitting you, will soak all of the damage into Stone Plate, like Stone Plate's active, which is going to be very bad for them whether your ult hits or not, but then your Stone Plate will end and your ult will hit for the full damage because of the charge up time. So this is a very valuable and useful item on Nunu that you can pick up as just a single tank item. So let's say you went for a snowball setup, right? You got ahead early, you picked up a Magi's, you went for a Protobelt, and then a single tank item that you can pick up for a very high value would be a Stone Plate, because then you can go in with Magi's and with the Protobelt, get a position, pop Stone Plate so you can soak all the damage still without having built a lot of tank items, and then the moment your Stone Plate ends, your ultimate's just going to insta-kill everything because you have so much extra AP scaling. So this is a very good combo item with that, and this will just overall be a very good item on Nunu. Now, in a lot of situations, if you're like going into a game poorly, or a game's not going too well for you, and just basically building tank to be frontlining for your team, to making engages happen, there are also other options you can go for. You have the Zeke's Convergence and the Knight's Vow, also Locket. All of these support items are very good pickups on Nunu. They're very cheap as well. So you can go for a setup like Deadman's Plate, to make sure that you still get the early mid-game roam potential and the potential to engage. So Deadman's Plate is going to be good for that. But then let's say your AD carry is doing pretty well on your team, or your top laner or whatever. You can then start building support items for them, especially if, like, let's say the support is not really building Knight's Vow or Zeke's, then it's going to be even better. So you can just support your ADC as much as possible. Make sure to play around the win conditions of your game. If you're not doing too well, picking up support items on Nunu is valuable, and it's still very, very recommended. Just going for the linear build and going Protobelt still, if you're not doing well, is really not going to help you at all, and that's really why you want to get these items. Now, these items just depend like on what's going to be good. If your support already has a Zeke's and the ADC is maybe the only one that's going to be good, or like that's going to be good on your team, then Zeke's is not going to be a worth it item for you to get. You can get a Knight's Vow, you can get a Locket, you can get stuff like that. Just support your AD carry as much as possible whilst you're like making a setup. You can easily go in, proc the Zeke's for your ADC, because you go in with Snowball, you just start ulting, and then your ADC is probably going to be around, so you're going to get all the extra Zeke's procs and everything. It's just going to be very, very strong, and yeah, it's going to boost up your AD carry a lot, or your top laner a lot, if they're maybe playing an aggressive bruiser type of champion. That would be an option there. So this is really the supportive items you can pick up, depending on game situations and depending on how you're doing. You can even finish off a build with all of these items. So you can go for Deadman's Blade into like Zeke's with Locket and Knight's Vow and just be the best supportive type of champion you can be. They're all very cheap items. So if you're doing poorly and not really getting anywhere in your games, then this will easily allow you to get a very cheap full build while still being as useful as you possibly can be. So that's an option there. If you're just going full tank, which, like let's say you have a support that already has all of these supportive items, like a Thresh that builds these types of items, then you can skip all of them and just build tanky for yourself to be able to frontline a lot more damage. That's also a viable choice. So going for an option here that would like just require magic resist is like Spirit Visage for extra healing, which would be the ideal situation. However, if you do have to pick up adaptive against like a Karthus or a Cassio, then it just has to be an adaptive. Get one magic resist item, and from here you can get Stoneplate to make sure you soak a lot of damage. And then on top of this, picking up a Warmox is basically going to allow you to engage, tank a lot of damage, walk out, heal with Warmox, go back in, and like rinse and repeat. Now, one final item that I do want to mention on Nunu for against snowballing purposes is the Liandry's. If you are facing more tanky enemy teams and fights aren't going to be as quick or as bursty, Liandry's is a very good item on Nunu. Even if you're doing really, really well. So you can go for like the Dark Seal start and you're doing really well. You can skip the Proto Belt, which might not help you as much into those champions because they already struggle in getting away and they don't really have a lot of mobility. So if you do have Phase Rush and everything like that, then you should easily be able to land your E without too many issues off of the just your move speed and not having to have Proto Belt for that. If they are more slippery, then Proto Belt is still required, but that's a different story. So Liandry's will really help in getting through the HP of higher, like bigger tanks and everything. You easily slow and CC people just based off your entire kit. So this is just going to amplify your damage a lot. You're going to stick in fights a lot easy. Like it's very easy for Nunu to stick in fights for a long period of time since you're very tanky and you do have a lot of sustain built into your kit already. So an item like Liandry's is actually going to mean quite a bit of significance and damage in those types of situations. And yeah, that's an item you can definitely still pick up. And from here on out, you can build tank. You can still go Deadman's Blade. You can go for all those types of options still, as I just mentioned earlier in the video. So that's basically it for the build on Nunu. If you guys have questions on anything build related, make sure to put those in the comments below. If you have enjoyed this video so far, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button as well, as it does help me out quite a bit with the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, let's just move on into the gameplay section now. Alright, welcome to the gameplay section of this guide. As you can see, I am playing Nunu, of course, into a Nocturne, which isn't a bad matchup for Nunu, per se, because Nocturne kind of just AFK farms early game, which means that you get free pressure without really being able to get counter-ganked that easily. So that's really good for me there. He also has trouble invading me, which is great for Nunu, because it's not that easy to deal with invades from champions that are, like, good at invading. So let's say Graves and stuff like that, you don't want to get in, like, there's nothing you can do if he invades you. You basically have to play around him invading you. So in those situations, you just need to be careful for that. Apart from that, as soon as the 50-second mark comes, you want to start resetting and place a ward on the buff camp that you're not starting on. The reason is that you want to cover your buff camp for the invade. So if, let's say, the Nocturne maybe goes for red into my blue or something like that, then you can cover that, because if somebody invades you as a jungler, they will always go for your buff camp and not go for your, like, Gromp or something. That just doesn't make any sense. They might take your blue into your Gromp, but by that time you would have already spotted them on the ward. So for a level 2 invade, someone will maybe start red buff and straight up run to your blue, and then this ward covers that, so that's something you want to do. Same thing counts for the other side. Just make sure that the other buff is warded, so this basically allows you to know if you have to mirror the jungle or not, so you can go from, like, a blue start to his red if he goes from his blue to your red. So that's something you want to do with this reset. Also, another great thing about this reset is this will allow you to get the red sweeping trinket, and that will allow you to gank a lot easier. So as you can see right now, I'm back for the red sweeping trinket, and yeah. Now, maxing order on Nunu, and the way you want to start is level 1 you take Q, then you take W and E. You can also take E if you're starting blue buff, then E on the Gromp and Wolves will do a little bit more damage for a little bit extra clear speed, but if you're starting red, you want to get W because you want to Q this and then instantly start rolling your ball for the W on this to burst this camp down as best as you can, and then keep using your W to close as much distance between camps. So you can start, like, once this camp dies, you W through your wolves and then W again, and then just use your W to get around your jungle faster because this will increase your jungle clear speed. And then you take the E or W, whichever one you don't have, on level 3. So from that point onwards, you want to max Q, and then max E, and then max W. You only need 1 point in your W, because that's basically all you really need for that. Now, as you can see, where you want to start with Nunu actually is just start on your bot side. This will give you the best leash. Nunu's initial clear is pretty bad. The moment you pick up the Bami Cinder, your clear speed starts to pick up really, really like nicely, and it's going to be very quick. But until you get your Bami Cinder, Cinder Hulk type of stuff, you want to make sure that you start on your bot side to get the best leash possible. And yeah. So you see you take W level 2. As you can see, the W basically half HPs all the small ones. I kind of missed this one, but yeah, it will burst like the camp down pretty nicely. You can use another Q here for some extra sustain, and then you should use your W again. I used it a little late here. I should have used it like right here to get a little bit more distance on it. But just make sure that you curve the W right into the camp. As you can see, the W does half the HP of the small ones again. And then with your auto attacks as well, they will die like fairly effectively. If I were to be level 3 right now, these would have died with my E. But yeah. So you can see right here, no problem, the camp basically dies, and you start rolling your W again. This is really how you're clearing your jungle camps. Now, of course, the reason you don't have to take W second on the blue side start is because these camps are very close together. There's not really a big gap you have to cross, and the moment you have to cross this big gap is the moment you really want to have that level 3. And then your E also does a little bit more damage to the Gromp overall. So yeah. Right, you just do blue, just do Gromp, and then I'll look for pressure. I can look for the gank on maybe top lane or mid lane, or I can just like pressure for Scuttle, get some vision down. Either one of those things work. I'll most likely on Nunu if I just do my clear. As you can see, still between every single camp, because the camp takes long enough for you to clear that your W will be back up anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. So here I do this, and then right now I'm going to look at the Scuttle Crab, which is going to spawn in about 10 seconds, which is a normal play I could make. I could also look to maybe snowball into top lane. If this lane was like right here, you can just start prepping your snowball like right about here, and then you can snowball all the way through. The way you want to practice your snowball rolls is basically just be in a like practice tool game and just try curving it, you know. Try playing with it, try getting through your jungle with it, and that's really how you're going to get that down. So I do see the play on top lane. The Gangplank got the advantage on the Gragas. So he has half HP. Gangplank will likely try to chase. And right there, as you can see, I will go for the W on him right there. And then curve him into that. And basically just kill the Gangplank. So I'll just, again... So you know about like the approximate distance you want to start using your W on. So right here, he's just looking at me instead of the fight right here. So right here, I look this. He's going to kite towards... like upwards, so I don't want to use it too far. I don't have too much move speed either, so I don't have the boots or anything. I do, however, have the water walking, so I will get through the river a lot faster, which is nice. But then here, as you can see, I'm just basically going to come in with a snowball, and then he flashes over, and I just curve the snowball into him. Start hitting him with your E, proccing Phase Rush. You can kite him. The main reason the Phase Rush, you want to make this circle hit the enemy, because the moment this circle times out, it's going to snare, and then you're going to like snare the enemy. Off that, you can even ult people and just give your laners like a good way to follow up. So you land a W into him, start hitting your E for the Phase Rush proc, and then make sure that your E connects on the second part, so it snares, and yeah. Now right here, another snowball. Make sure to use those snowballs as much as you can. Don't hold on to your snowball. You want to make sure you roll around the map with it to go for the most efficient and fastest clear speed you can. So as you can see right there, like the Scuttle was coming up, or the Scuttle is up and I want to go for it. I'm just going to snowball into the Scuttle, which also reduces the armor magic resist from Scuttle, which is really good, so you kill it faster. So it's basically you snowball into it, use EQ, and basically Scuttle dies, which is very, very easy. Now right here, Nocturne is behind me, which kind of just tells me I can just straight up run to the other Scuttle Crab. In this case, I'm looking to maybe fight this Nocturne. Now I don't have the best 1v1, but I do have Phase Rush, so it's really difficult for him to actually DPS me. Now this basically comes down to Yasuo being able to 1v1 the Pyke, and this guy should not be able to kill me really, because that's actually going to be quite difficult. Now, however, in this situation, they, like with the double Flash Ignite, I kind of tried to run in. The Yasuo didn't really do enough damage, so I kind of I guess I overestimated the damage Yasuo was going to do to be able to get to the Pyke, maybe Q him for some health, and then kite towards my Yasuo instead of away from him. So that's a bit of a misplay on my part, but that should be okay. Now, the main thing you see right now, I died, which gives you, of course, the effect that you're going to run out of base faster, and then also with your snowball, I'm going to close a lot of distance, and I know the Scuttle is still up, so I'm just going to rush for the Scuttle with my snowball, which, as you can see, I'm like very far into this already. So I can easily just go for this, get my snare, get the armor reduction, and then see the gank on mid lane, walk in with a snowball, hit the snowball, and then we kill the Pyke, which is very, very good. I knew that Pyke didn't have flash, so after a like rush for the scuttle, which Nocturne would never be able to beat, since I died and I was gonna get there faster easily. So basically I just get scuttle, and then off this I know he doesn't have flash, and he's still somewhat positioned too far up in his lane, so I can just start prepping my snowball again, make sure that you curve the snowball into him, Yasuo goes in, and we kill the Pyke. So basically with the snowballing, you just need to make sure that you keep looking for the ganks, looking for the plays. Nunu is very, very good at ganking in the early mid game with his snowball. He does, however, fall off a little bit compared to other tank junglers when it comes to the late game stages, so definitely keep that in mind as well. So this is a perfect example. The Gangplank is pushed up with a big wave, and the Gragas, well, is fighting the Gangplank in this situation. So instead of like doing Gromp and stuff like that, you definitely want to make sure that you punish people for walking up. It doesn't matter if it's warded or not. Like, let's say this would be warded by the Gangplank. It's gonna be too late already once you start prepping your snowball. There's nothing they can do to get away from the move speed you have, so there's nothing else you should really have to worry about. So right here, I just come in, I hit the snowball, hit the EQ, and I could have chased with Phase Rush, but at this stage he was already dead. And this time you can go back to your jungle camp clear, and by now probably the volley will have done the dragon since I just ganked top lane. Actually, however, in this situation, bot lane just got the kill, so maybe he doesn't go for it. Volley, I don't even know why I said that. It's Nocturne. But again, out of base, using your snowball to get the most move speed possible towards the stage where you want to go. So in this case, I wanted to go to the bot side / dragon. So I just run straight through the lane here. You can also, if you want to go for like camps, you can also like use it here and then curve your snowball all the way through here and take the plant over or something to get to your red as fast as possible. But just make sure you use your snowball out of base so you can get the extra move speed from that. Use snowball here. I didn't curve it correctly to get to the dragon. I got the corner a little bit short, but it's just a like trial and error type of thing. Oh wait, actually I remember this one. Look at the cooldown on my smite and my Q. This is really, really unfortunate. I should have stopped it. Like I stopped hitting it here in hope that I get my smite back up in time. My Tristana and Blitzcrank weren't gonna react to this dragon, so that's a bit unfortunate there. But the cooldown on my smite is like half a second in this situation. And right there, with a 0.4 second cooldown, he gets a smite on dragon, which is really, really annoying. That's not even my fault as much. It's mainly just Blitzcrank and Tristana not caring about the dragon whatsoever. So, yeah, well, there's not much I can do about it in that case. Of course, it's still my fault for trying to start the dragon and not having my Q or smite up to smite it with. But, yeah. Alright, here, I was hoping that the bot lane might overstay. They didn't, so that's whatever. I just make sure that as soon as you get your Bami Cinder or Cinderhawk completed, you need to make sure that you keep clearing your camps, keep rotating them, because you do them really fast now. You basically just have to run a snowball into the camp, and the camp basically insta-dies, because you can queue the big one on most camps that have AoE minions, and the camp just instantly dies here. Use your snowball still to get around the jungle as much as possible. And right here we see the Nocturne doing the Rift Herald. Now, I get feared in this situation. I'm basically waiting for the fear because I do have red smite and everything, so I can just red smite him, snare him with E, as you can see right now. He can't really move. He flashes out though of my ultimate, which is a bit unfortunate. But he couldn't really do anything. He was gonna die to my ultimate if he wouldn't have had his flash up. So I can just take over and do the Rift Herald now. Basically still looking to pressure. I'm looking to like maybe go for ganks as much as possible and then use this Rift Herald there as well. And right here, Yasuo walks towards me. I basically just zone the Pyke out from killing the Yasuo. We can turn around here with a snowball. Yasuo ults in, which is good. Now, the unfortunate part here is that Nocturne actually ults the Yasuo and does kill him. But the Nocturne does commit suicide. So it's basically a 2-for-1 trade, which really isn't that bad. Off that, I know that the Scuttle is still going to be up, and then from Scuttle onwards, I have Rift Herald, so I need to make sure that I can try to get a turret with it whilst the platings are still up for as much gold as possible. Also, bot turret is getting, like, pressured. I wouldn't say they're going to take it, but it's at least getting pressured. So I can just start, like, snowballing into this Gangplank, and then with that, I can take the top turret quite easily, so that's basically the plan. As you can see with the snowball, you want to use it somewhat early. You don't have to use it like right here because then your snowball isn't going to charge up at all. So basically stand as far back as you can, start prepping your snowball, and you basically just have to curve the snowball right. So make sure you take big enough corners. Again, practice this in the practice tool, and with this snowball, as you can see, I'm just going to run into the Gangplank, and there's not a whole lot this guy can do. I like basically have been punishing him for walking up at any situation in like this entire game, which is very, very good there. That's something you want to look for with Nunu. You can look for like a bot side clear. Potentially, you can clear these 3 camps and then gank mid lane with a snowball, quickly go through it and then go for top side. But make sure that as soon as you get a flash from any of your laners, or any of the enemy laners, so let's say I get a gangplank flash in this case, I need to make sure that I punish and keep punishing. So if he walks up, doesn't have flash, of course you're going to go again. The snowball is a very easy repeat gank that you can do. Doesn't have too much cooldown, but it's a very strong gank either way. Now, when it comes to the Rift Herald, you want to make sure you use it when the plates are low. So when it gets to like 2 plates, maybe even barely into the 3 plate range, you can also use the Rift Herald, depending on if you have enough damage for it or not. The Rift Herald can help you finish off the last bit of the plate anyway. I used it a little bit early here, basically because my minion wave was about to die. And I wanted to have the Rift Herald so we can keep pressuring for turret. Also, I know Gangplank's TP is up, so if he does TP on turret, which you'll see right here, which he actually does. Like, this is one of the things you can cheese with on Nunu, by the way. If someone TPs and you see that TP, like for example here, you can just start charging your ultimate, and then the moment they come in, that's the moment they get hit with your ultimate, full damage of your ultimate. So here he comes in, I'm just gonna start prepping my ultimate. He comes in, takes a full chunk of damage from that. Me and the Gragas basically just one-shot him, which is like a really neat trick you can do with Nunu. Doesn't matter where they TP on, if you're standing next to them, just start ulting. They'll take the full burst of damage from your ultimate there, and that's going to be very, very good. Now, picking up the Proto Belt here. Proto Belt's mainly used for positioning purposes. Also, Nunu has fairly good AP scalings. So if you're doing well in the game, you can use Proto Belt to basically snowball with a little bit more damage, but also get the positioning advantage to get your E's off and your ult positions off to make sure that you like get the like as soon as you go in with like a snowball, right? You want to snowball, run at the enemy, hit the snowball on the enemy, they get knocked up. You start using your E, use phase rush with E to walk up, and if then they may flash or something like that, or maybe they have enough range, just barely get out of your E range so they can avoid the snare. That's where Proto Belt comes in, and you can use your Proto Belt right there to still catch the snare. You can also use your Proto Belt simply for damage, or you can use your Proto Belt to just position your ult positioning a little bit better if you do have to. So it's all small things what makes Proto Belt very good on Nunu. Mainly the AP scalings he does have as well, so one AP item is going to be very beneficial still. Alright, so you're basically just pushing turrets down right now, looking for a place. It's a very terribly placed W right there, damn. And making sure that I still keep clearing my camps as much as possible. As you can see, I have 104 CS, which on 30 minutes really isn't that bad, and this is basically because I was still rotating through the jungle with my W, saving as much time as possible, of course, but still making sure that I do get my my jungle camps down for the experience and everything. Because experience is going to make you extremely tanky as well, which is going to allow you to even build items like Proto Belt instead of having to go tank items. I think my minimap is a little bit bugged. I see a snowball constantly with me. I don't want to face check that brush, by the way, because, well, you see why. The Gragas face checked it, which kind of turned out pretty poorly. And I just have to go out. Still here, using my snowball to get as much mobility around as possible, so I can go for the camps. Now in this case, I placed my snowball really, really poorly. I should have walked out here first, faced this way, and then started charging for the gangplank. I would have gotten him, but because I wasted my snowball, I wasn't going to get him. Which is a slight mistake on my part. Again, making sure that I keep getting through these camp clears, making sure that I do keep farming and keeping pressure that way. Now here, this is one of the things you can do on Nunu. If you're not in vision and if your team plays it right, you can force the enemy or like kite the enemy or bait the enemy into your ultimate. So I start ulting out of vision, thinking that if my team were to kite towards me, if this Gragas would have kited maybe this way, they would have walked into it, getting a full chunk of my ult burst and then basically getting one shot through that. Doesn't really happen here. They like maybe the Xayah would have gone into it if the Gragas could have ulted them into my ultimate. What the hell was that? They could have maybe ulted him into my ultimate, and that's why I started ulting here. This is a tactic you can do if you're setting maybe in this brush right here. They don't have vision, you swept it before with your Oracle lens, and then they don't have vision, and the fight's gonna start, or they're gonna start walking in this direction. Just ult out of vision. They can't see the ultimate range. They will only notice the slowing effect, but most of the time, if they notice it, they're already gonna be too late, and they're gonna get hit by it. So in this case, it barely doesn't hit anybody, which is a little bit unfortunate. There's not a whole lot you can do about that. I just use my protobelt for a little bit of extra distance and damage. And then we chase this through still, even though my ultimate didn't hit in this case, of course. Again, with the snowballs, getting through and getting as much mobility as possible around the map, making sure that I go through like 40 objectives and everything. Now, when it comes to doing objectives on Nunu, you don't want to, like, you can easily solo dragons and rift heralds with your Q, but you don't have the ability to do it very early on. You need at least 3 points in your queue to effectively be able to solo a Drake. If you have like level 5, you can solo Dragon with 3 points in your queue. If you have less than 3 points in your queue, then you're basically gonna take too much damage. And then if you get, like, you can still do it, but if you do get spotted at that stage, you're gonna just basically guaranteed die and give a Dragon away. So look towards at least having 3 points in your queue, ideally with a Bami Cinder as well. And that's the point where you can start looking to solo objectives like Rift Heralds and Dragons really quickly without too many issues. Again, with making sure that I still clear the jungle camps whenever I get there. And right here, Pike dodges my W barely. If that would have hit, Yasuo could have ulted that, but yeah. I mean, I just basically want to go for the objective. Nunu, like, when it comes to smite on Nunu, one important objective, of course, you want to just make sure that you use your Q and your smite at the same, or not at the same time. You want to Q first, and then the moment your animation comes in a little bit, like a fraction of a second, really, you get the timing down, but just Q first and then smite, and then the true damage is going to hit at the same time. If you're, like right now, I have 720 damage on that, and then 980 on this, so I do 1700 true damage, which is basically impossible for the enemy team to outsmite, unless they have like an Evelyn, for example. Evelyn has a chance, because Evelyn Ultimate does a disgusting amount of damage as well to an objective like that. But you shouldn't really be able to lose any smite battles if you do have the combination up. So definitely look for that, and you need to make sure that you save it as well. So if you're like, let's say, doing Drake, and the HP is like 3k, do not use your Q. Just like tell your team or force your team to burst down the dragon, and then as soon as they get to the 1700 range or whatever it is that your smite combination will do, that's where you Q smite, and then you will always get that, basically. So that's definitely something you want to look for. Using my W here to make sure that I look for the place. I didn't get the Pike in this case because he dashes away, but that's fine. We just basically use the Rift Herald in the mid lane right there whilst the fight's going on. The Rift Herald will get the mid turret basically for free, and right here we can come in. Now in this situation again, I wanted to I wanted to try and go for an ultimate that would cut off them from these two, so they would have free reign on like Xayah and everything. My ultimate here basically means they cannot walk back towards my Tristana and my Thresh in this case, and my Tristana is my main carry, so I'm kind of bait, or my main carry in this game. So I'm basically trying to support her as much as possible. So that's why I placed the ultimate right here. You can use your ultimate for two purposes. You can use it to zone the enemies. So right here, the Nocturne and the Yuumi would not be able to get back through to get to the Tristana. They probably wouldn't want to either way, but it's still an ult I could use. Also, Nocturne's darkness basically means I can't see anything anyway. So I figured I might as well just ultimate to make sure they can't walk back towards Trist, and that's about all I can do. I can chase this through maybe, but then if they walk back and maybe get the Trist or get the kill on her, that wouldn't be ideal. So Nocturne's darkness ends, and this is just like snowball curving really. That's just practice. You'll get it down, and it basically allows you to engage very, very easily. In this stage of the game, like the Rift Herald users you saw earlier right before the fight, they weren't able to stop it, so we basically can push through the game. We do get double turrets here, but we are unable to end because they're actually all respawning and we're quite low, so they're going to be able to defend this one right now. But we just need to like make one final fight happen, maybe an engage with like a nice snowball or something like that, and you should be able to, you should be good. Right. Also, another thing about this enemy team right now is that they're full attack damage, so I can basically, after like a protobelt, just stack armor, which turns out pretty nicely for Nunu, because you, like, Deadman's Blade is a very good item, and then also, like, items like Stone Plate do give a lot of armor. You can go for, like, Knight's Vow as well, if you want to support your AD carry a little bit more. Now, again, there, making sure that you use your W to get about the map a little bit faster, so that also, like, all that little timing matters. The Gangplank shows top lane here. I use my W to get there as fast as possible with my Deadman's Blade. And this is something you want to just look for at this stage in the game. Now, of course, I'm, like, in this game, off of early ganks, off of just overall gank pressure that I had with Nunu, while still clearing my camps and everything. I basically shut down the Gangplank, got fed off that, kept repeat ganking him because he didn't have escape summoners anymore. And then right there, at this stage in the game, when you get to this point, you just want to make sure that as soon as you see anybody out of position, you start getting there with a snowball, making the pick happen. And in a lot of situations, if you're like far ahead like I am right now, you will be able to 1v1 them with just getting your E off, getting the snare off, and then fully getting an ult charge off or something like that. That should be fine. But that's just stuff you want to look for. Look for those catches. Make sure that with a snowball, they will not be able to get away from you really. So if they do walk out of position, they're basically guaranteed to die. So as you can see, I'm basically not using my Q throughout this. I'm just basically waiting for the smite combination. I didn't do it perfectly there, but as you can see, it's still pretty difficult to outsmite. Start prepping a snowball, looking for the engage, making sure that I curve it. As you can see, this is just snowball control. This is really just learning how far you have to drag your mouse in order for the snowball to make certain turns and whatever collision it gets, which is like the most easily used or learned in the practice tool. So my team goes here, and I just go for the Zaya. I can easily 1v1 her. I need to make sure right here, as you can see, that I just start hitting my E as much as possible to try to get a phase rush proc. But the moment my E is about to proc, this is a combination you could do for an engage no matter what. So if this were multiple people, this would have been fine too. But you just want to make sure the moment your E is about to proc, so it's about to end, it's about to get the snare, that's the moment you want to start ulting. Usually by this time they would have already used their CC as well, and it's basically impossible for her to get out, and as you can see the ultimate does a lot of damage. So an engage like that, doesn't matter if it's one person or multiple people, just go in with snowball, walk up with E, use your phase rush advantage to get the position for your E, and then you can use stoneplate if you do have it, because then stoneplate will make you extremely tanky, and whilst your ultimate is charging and with stoneplate active, stoneplate will time out, ultimate will go off, and you'll get the full chunk of damage whilst they wouldn't be able to hurt you. Something like that would work ideally for an engage. So basically right here, it's just chasing it through. But all of you, like what you've seen, looking for that early gank pressure is what you want to do on Nunu. Nunu is extremely good at it. He's extremely good at just repeat ganking and punishing lanes if they use their summoners. And then also after the Bami Cinder, as you saw, you will want to look for clear speed as much and as efficiently as possible. Making sure that you go for dragon pressure after you hit the 3 points in your Q. And then also, of course, if your bot lane has an advantage, if that's not the case, you want to make sure that you gank bot lane first. Try to force the enemy bot lane back so your bot lane will be able to react to the dragon, which in this game cost me 1 dragon because that didn't really happen. Either way, that's really how you play Nunu. It's not the most difficult champion, but still, I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. That does help me quite a lot. If you want to catch me streaming live on Twitch, you can. I stream as much as I can, so just come and hang out there. There's a link in the description. Make sure to drop a follow there. And yeah, see you guys in the next video. Bye!